Hey, it's Willie Armelini with your Industry Buzz. Today we're going to interview Carolyn Marshall Foster. Carolyn is a very interesting character from the UK. She's known for her work with the Good Florist Guide and with the Florist Magazine. She's been all over the world. I've traveled with her, and she's going to talk to us about Brexit and what's going on in the UK with floral. So, without further ado, Carolyn Marshall Foster. Carolyn Marshall Foster, such a pleasure to see you. I'm glad you wore your hat today because, it's life is about hats sometimes.
Well, I have to say, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me. I was beginning to wonder whether you ever would, but that's okay. I let you off. I thought I'd wear my hat because we've just done a 2-week flower fest in the UK. We've had British Flowers Week. We've had flower flashes where major landmarks of London have been covered with flowers. And then we did this wear a hat covered in flowers day in honor of one of our very famous florists who sadly died of a brain tumor. And I joined in and I found this bowler hat in my cupboard. Why I have it, I've got no idea.
But it's there.
Brand new, came from Harrods, very posh. And I thought, as I was doing a link from England, I'd wear my bowler hat.
Well, it's delightful and I love to see it. So you have a long history in floral, and we should talk a little bit about that, and perhaps then we can talk a little bit about Brexit and what's going on in the UK. But
you have to.
The Good Florist Guide is something that you've been associated with. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, Good Florist Guide is sort of the child of Florist Trade Magazine. Can you mind if I take my hat off? So Good Florist Guide was something I started back in 1999, and I was terribly worried that there was very little quality control and that anybody could call themselves a florist, and sometimes the gift that a person received, and my friends were experiencing this, wasn't as great as it could have been. So I thought I would come up with this thing, and it's like, I don't know if you have it in the States, but it's like the Good Food Guide, the Good Hotel Guide, the Good Pub Guide, and it basically is an accreditation scheme whereby florists, you can't buy your way in. Nobody can just pay me large amounts of money and become a GFG. And we don't have a huge membership. I mean, it's at its peak, I think it was about 300. We've lost a few. We're restarting. We have a new business development director, which is a very grandiose title, but it's a quality mark to show that florist goes the extra mile and does things even more spectacularly than your average florist. So that's what that's all about. But it is a sort of subset of my main day job, which is running Florist Trade Magazine. And that I've been doing for probably more years than I probably care to say these days. But let's put it this way, it started in 1949. I was not there at the beginning. My mum, who was a florist and who trained with the late great Constance Spry and had her own shops, bought the magazine in 1966, and I joined the company having done a variety of other jobs, and I came into it, and I've been here ever since. And I have to say that, some people would say, oh my gosh, you've been doing it for 40 plus years. I started young, but it's been such fun, and it's such an amazing industry to work in. And I am very blessed because through the magazine, I have got to meet people from literally all over the world. And I get to see the product from the point at which it's cut. So like the fields in Colombia or in Holland or wherever, all the way through to the point of sale and to the actual making, because I have had shops, and so I know how hard it is. And so only a week ago, I was helping somebody with their funeral flowers for their mum. So I see the product from start to finish and all the impact that it has throughout the chain.
The magazine, it's online, or is it a print magazine?
It is now digital. We stopped print back in 2017. That's not to say that I won't have a mad moment and think, oh my gosh, I need another Jubilee edition. There's got to be another 50th anniversary I can celebrate, because I am intrinsically a print girl. I love magazines. I love touchy-feely, and you know, it's just part of my DNA. But it is online. It has, you know, when I look at our figures, and you know, we have a traction of about 7,000 to 10,000 a month on the magazine, and we have a following of over 32,000 on social media. So we're still reaching people, but just in a very different way. But which is fine, you know, because at the end of the day, as long as we're connecting, it doesn't really matter how we connect, as long as we connect.
Yes, well, I don't envy your job in having to come up with the content for I guess a monthly. You're doing it monthly?
Oh, I do it every day. I mean, there's something going up every day, and content, I have to be honest with you, content is not the issue. There are so many things that I want to write about, and you know, there are so many wonderful things that are going on in the industry, and so many bad things. You know, I'm not going to pretend that it's all wonderful, because it isn't. The biggest issue is my ability to type very quickly. It's sort of like, how many hours can I sit writing?
Yes, and get it out of your head. And that, I know well, getting that out of your head and onto the keyboard is something that's a unique recipe to get it done right.
Yeah, well, it's not so much that. I think people think that just, you know, because we live in a social media world where, you know, 140 characters, or you whip up a quick post on Facebook and they sort of think, that didn't take very long. Well, it did, because you actually had to think about it, research it, find the photograph, size the photograph, you know, and have all the years of experience. It's, you know, it's a bit like, I was watching your presentation, the four-man team you had about transport, and you know, just delivering flowers to a florist is more complex than delivering 1 million tons of widgets to somebody. And so, you know, there are complications along the way.
Yeah, I would imagine, and that's probably a good segue into a little bit what's going on. Yes, if you watch that, there's a sort of a driver crisis here in America, trying to find drivers. That the trucking for floral is not easy. It's the hardest thing out there, since you're touching all the boxes. And I got to think that you know, they have the same issues over there. I haven't talked to my trucking counterparts over there, but I'm sure it's going on. So
oh yeah,
it's happening. Yeah. So Brexit.
I mean, the Brexit code, I mean, I know you want to talk about Brexit, and you know, I'm not going to kid anybody and say that it's been wonderful. It hasn't. It's been an unmitigated disaster in many ways, because not least because the government did not have systems and procedures in place. And then you have to sort of think, well, should they have, given that there was a global pandemic? I mean, you know, come on, it's all been a bit of a sort of and so whilst it's easy to blame Brexit for everything, I think we have to realise that COVID still and has had a huge, huge impact across the board. And Brexit has been another bally headache on top. But even my readers would say, and we asked them, you know, which has been the worst, COVID or Brexit, and they've said, well, actually, we couldn't really tell you, because who knows?
Yeah, right.
It's
so what is reality in floral in the UK at this point? Are you in London? I don't know where you are. Are you based in London or what?
I am based in London, yes.
Okay. So, I mean,
but the world does not start and stop in London. No. Honestly, there is life outside London. Quite a lot of life.
I've been there, so I know there is, you know, places in Leeds and places like that.
Yeah, there's places like Leeds, and it's very, very cool in Leeds.
Well, the Who made it famous because it was live at Leeds. So anyway, all right. Well, so the other problem we're having here in America, maybe globally, and I think probably there, is that the demand for product has been so great The supply of product has been diminished because of all the reasons we know, that the growers couldn't catch up fast enough and are still compromised for the most part, trying to get product out of the fields and into the consumer's hands. We've had a big challenge here. Are you feeling the same pinch over there?
I think it is fair to say that the issues facing floral are the same the world over. It's just perhaps zeros that may be slightly different. And we are all facing it. I mean, in the UK, we have had huge price rises, and because there just hasn't been enough product, and we can't get what isn't being grown or isn't being shipped. So if Kenya still has issues flying product out, that is going to have a big impact on the UK. And I think, you know, not so much with our South American supply, because our dependency on it isn't so great as it is in the US, but getting product, and here is where Brexit does impact, getting product out of Holland is more complicated and a bit more expensive. We're talking anything between 10 and 20% uplift on prices because of it. But then if they can't get the South American product into the Dutch auctions, then that does have an impact on us. So whilst and interestingly, I was talking to an importer the other day who I'm doing an interview with, and I mean, she's an absolute anti-Brexit person, but she says it's been very good for her because she can bring in product direct into the UK, and that is quite price advantageous because the florist and the wholesaler doesn't have to pay an 8% levy for it being a third country product, because it transits through Holland rather than comes from Holland. And there are some nuances to it that need to be taken into account. Plants, again, a big problem on plants. And then you pick up a report off another magazine, because we're not here to promote anybody else. We can't ship certain plants to Europe because of Brexit. This is a UK grower. And so you get this big bold heading about, you know, we can't ship certain plants to Europe because of Brexit, but actually we're selling them all in England because they can't get any plants in. So actually, he's still selling his plants. Yes, it's a problem for the EU customer, but it's a positive for the British customer. And so I think, and as I say, it's an unmitigated disaster. And I have no, you know, I'm not going to say it's what I think about it, but I think it will resolve itself very slowly, too slowly probably. I think the government systems have been absolutely ludicrous. We still have issues to come into play, but I also know that there are a lot of people fighting the corner of the flower industry in the UK, and that, if I may be so bold, governments are going to have some common sense. Now, whether that's possible or not, I don't know, but they're going to have some common sense.
If you find any over there, send some over here too. We need, you know, common sense is a rare commodity sometimes, and we need it. Well, so it was interesting that you mentioned this in transit, because we've been doing this with Canada for many years. The product coming from South America travels in transit. They don't pay duties in the US because it didn't land technically in the US. So you're able to do that. Were you not able to do that before?
Oh yes, no, absolutely nothing has changed. I mean, it's when people say to me, oh, but you know, South American and all the security checks and things. Well, we've had those for years from South America. So really nothing changed. Okay. What it was on paper, and it sounds, and I didn't know about the Canada situation, but yeah, if as I understand the rules, you bring your product into the UK as final destination, even though it transits through Schiphol or Frankfurt or Madrid, yep, or might come Miami straight into, and then it becomes a direct supply. And that if it lands and is then sold out of Holland, then it becomes a third country
Yes,
product.
yes. Is there a duty? Do you pay a duty on the South American flowers coming direct? An
No,
import
it's
duty?
tariff free because they always have had a
Okay. The bilateral relationship. Okay.
I think, well, yes, as far as I know, and according to Augusto, it was all signed off. And to be honest, and we may have to,
No,
I need to do some research, but I'm pretty sure we're tariff free
I
from
think you're correct.
Colombia.
You know, you mentioned Kenya. Obviously, Kenya is a big supplier to Europe, uh,
Uh-huh.
and
Particularly the supermarkets, yeah.
particularly supermarkets. And I don't know if you're aware, but you know that the largest grower in Kenya, which is Osetian, was now purchased by Elite.
Oh my gosh,
Yes, one part.
Elise is on a major buying.
He's buying everything. I'm going to interview him too. He's finally agreed to give me an interview, so I appreciate that. That'll be coming up. But yeah, I mean that was a bold move, and I think an interesting move for him and Elite, and curious to see. You know, he mentioned that it's a global business, and you have to be global, and that is a gigantic farm that he took on there. So yeah, I mean the business is changing.
And to be honest, the amount of product that comes from Kenya into the UK, particularly to our supermarkets, who are the largest vendors of flowers in the United Kingdom, it's a sensible move. He now accesses into a segment that he might have not been able to get direct from South America.
Yeah, well, he's competing with with Flamingo, I guess. You have big suppliers there. As here, you know, the same thing's happening here. The big supermarkets are forced to buy growers because they need production, and I don't see any stopping. It's really going a little bit nutty.
They did well. I mean, listening to the various PMA presentations that I have sat in, and you know, it's just phenomenal. I wonder how long it will go on for, but when they tell me that they're buying for 2022, they obviously are very optimistic, and you know, everybody else should take solace from that, and should think, well, hey, if they think that it's going to be good for 2022, then I need to be in there as well.
Yeah, I mean the supermarkets have have a good footprint and good data, and appear to be very optimistic on the future here. So, as many of the people I have interviewed over the last several months are as well, saying that it looks promising. It's we here in America, or at least I've said this. I don't know if anybody else is saying it. You know, we finally we've always wanted to be in America, the consumers were like the Europeans, buying flowers on a daily basis. We would never have enough flowers. Well, guess what?
Your dreams come true.
And here we are. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So it's all good.
I think the problem will be whether, I mean, we will never ever replicate 2020 figures, and nor would we want to, because the reason for them was just absolutely awful. Right. You know, you don't want to be. They were a, please God, one-off that were an amazing advert for the power of flowers and plants, but I don't ever want to see the flower industry going through that again, because and I know it was great for some players who like digital disruptors who do nothing but put flowers in a box. That's fine. They just took huge sales figures. For florists at the front line, wherever they were in the world, it was one of the most emotional, dreadful emotional challenges, where you are having to deal with funeral flowers over a telephone, on a computer screen. You know, you're sending messages. Every message that you wrote was thinking of you, miss you, love you, wish I could be with you. That was a challenge. That was a challenge. So for that reason, I would not wish that to ever happen again, because, you know, quite tough. quite tough.
Sales, yeah, we'll take the sales again, though. The sales have been good, and
yeah, the sales were fabulous, but I wouldn't want it to be for the same.
no, for the same reason. I can't agree more. Wow. All right, and speaking of COVID, it's something I really don't like to talk about much, but anyway, is relevant to the conversation. How is it there? How are you in the UK? In America here, at least here in Florida, you don't see many masks anymore, other than tourists in many cases come with masks because if they're coming from some other place, but there's not even many tourists around yet.
We are one of the best countries in terms of vaccination levels. We are double dosing our population as quickly as we can, simply because we have this new variant, the Delta variant,
right,
which is not a good one, simply because of its contagiousness.
right.
And it is particularly impacting on younger people. My daughter's boyfriend got it, which meant that he had to isolate and then she had to isolate. But we have new systems in place. So because she's double vaxxed, she can now go out as long as she does daily tests. So we are getting systems and procedures in place. Our full opening up was delayed by 4 weeks because we need to, it's sort of the vaccine chasing the virus rather than the other way around.
Right.
So we don't fully open technically until the 19th of July, I think it is. It's had a devastating impact on our wedding industry. You guys have had open weddings much more than we have. We are 30 people max outside, no dancing, social distance. It is not the wedding of a woman's dreams, I don't think, or man's dreams. But we're getting there.
Yeah, it's
and
better
I
than
think
it was.
that's
Better than it was. You couldn't even have a wedding before, so.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what we could do versus what we can do now, it's dramatically better. I think we're all getting a bit fed up of it now.
No, I think that was, I mentioned Woofsa, we were at Woofsa last 2 weeks ago, and it was wonderful. People were the stars of the show because people were there, and it sounds weird, but yeah, I could touch people. We were hugging and kissing, and it was quite nice. The flowers were secondarily to the whole situation.
We will hug people that we know have been double vaxxed.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because you sort of think, I just in case. But I mean, I've been very blessed, and I suppose that's a bit part of the gig, part of the job. I have been out and about an awful lot because, I went into market, I went up to see installations. I've actually been working at vaccine clinics, and so, but it is not being able to be with people. I just hope, I don't know, I would love to think that Pro Flora can take place.
Well, that's was my next question. Good segue. Yeah, because speaking to our counterparts down there, they said it's going to happen. So
yay!
They keep telling me, yes, it's going to happen. So we have that.
I'm there. I don't care whether Christina sends me an official invitation or not.
Yeah.
I'm there.
I think so. Me too. And we have, the Dutch shows are coming up too. They seem to be still on schedule.
Yeah.
So,
and it's I mean, my travel allowance has been so unused.
You have some money to travel with.
I have money. I just sort of like, I need to go. I need to be in places. I would have loved to have gone to the Florida State Association gathering, but sadly, I think that I've actually booked a family holiday. So
okay. All right.
I think I have to be there.
Well, Miss Carolyn, thank you for this time. I think we've, I do these in 20 minutes because that's what they take. And if we can't say it all in 20 minutes, then we need to rethink.
How have we done?
We've done pretty well, I believe. So I thank you for your time and your insight. It's been quite nice to see your face as well, because Zoom has allowed us to do this. While it's different, I really like it because I didn't have to go see you. You didn't have to come and see me. We didn't have to travel, and yet we can have this somewhat intimate conversation.
Absolutely.
We,
Absolutely.
I love it.
I mean, you're going to edit this out, but just if I flustered a bit on the Brexit thing, because I know that it's really sensitive and, you know.
No, and we don't know, I keep asking the question because we don't really know. It was in the news everywhere for a
Oh,
long
you've
time,
gone.
and then it wasn't. So we're just curious, that it had to have some effect as it has.
Oh, yeah.
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 So, and anyway,
We'll get through it.
life's complicated, and we try to figure it out one step at a time. So, in hopes of seeing you soon in person, I wish you well.
Absolutely.
I wish you well, and thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye now.